ask a few questions. The ambitious plans in both countries are providing us with extraordinary opportunities, and that will mean a quantic jump in investment, human development, and also resources, and of course many challenges. And this is what we want to talk with two very important actors in this project in this industry, which are the Minister Juan Carlos Jobet and the Minister Omar Paganini, one from Uruguay and the other from Chile. So we have the Minister Juan Carlos, Minister, be Minister of Energy and Mining. Pleasure to be here. And also from Uruguay, we have the presence of the Minister of Energy, Minister Omar Paganini, who kindly accompanies us from United States. Thank you very much, Minister. And we also have from Uruguay, my dear friend and partner of Guyer and Regules, Mr. Mercant, who works with cooperative and energy resources from that law firm. How are we doing, Juan? Good morning, Juan Francisco. So to begin with this seminar, I would like to start with the Minister Juan Carlos Gomez. He's the Minister of Energy and Mining, commercial engineers in Universidad Católica, and holds a master's degree of business administration and public administration from Harvard University. He has a long career in both private and public sector. He has the position of Chief of Staff at the Minister of Interior and the Secretary of Housing, Minister of Labor and Social Welfare, and responsible infrastructure. He was first appointed Minister of Energy, and 9 months ago he additionally assumed the mining portfolio. So please, Minister, you have the word. Thank you very much for this invitation. Hello, Omar. It's a pleasure to see you even at a distance. And Juan, greetings to Montevideo. And I would like to share my presentation. So what you see in this picture, it's a spacecraft, and we talk when we talk about hydrogen for two reasons. Because Apollo, when they got to the moon, was hydrogen. And the second reason, this is a strategy that looks to think about the long term, and due to the situation that we're all living, our responsibility, people who are working at the public service, is really have a long-term vision. So let's go to the next. This is going to be very quick. And like the ex-President Obama mentioned once, our generation is the first generation that will feel the consequence of the global warming, but it's going to be the only generation that should feel this problem. And I'm convinced, and as the more I read, it's going to be really a responsibility for our generation, for the new generations to come. And the only way to slow down is to transform is the way we produce and consume the energy. And when you look at the emission map, you can see the greenhouse effect in Chile. You can see from if you look at 6 p.m., if it was a clock, 30% is the electrical sector, and 30% is carbon in Chile. 26% is the transport, 14% is industry, half of it is mining in Chile, 7% is the buildings and lodging, and 1% is the other sector. So what we need to do in essence in Chile, and the whole world has to do with very little differences, is the following. We have to clean our matrix of production of energy and replace this dirty energy production with a clean energy production, and then so clean the matrix, and you're cleaning this 30%. Then you can use this to reduce also the transport, which is the other 26%, and then you will be able to use the hydrogen also to help the mining instead of using fuel for the industrial process. You can also heat your homes with this clean energy. This works very well, but it has one problem, is that certain sector of the economy who are very hard to connect to the grid, and it's very hard to replace the fuel with the energy, and this is what we can see here. For example, long transport. This one I'm going to go very quickly on this. Is that our plan of carbon energy for a link for carbon neutrality is going to be the hydrogen. But let's go to the next slide. The plan be the best solution, and this is what this graphic is showing us. When you look at the 2050, 22,000 of gigawatt will be provided by hydrogen, about 20%, because it's going to be used in the industry, in some part of the home heating, and in transport. The heavy transport, we can't go into details, but the short distance, the car that we use will work with batteries, very well with batteries. Buses, long distance, and heavy trucks, and the ships and planes cannot carry the weight of the batteries due to the distance that they need to go. So autonomy and weight is still a process where the hydrogen won't be the solution. So the main message here is that 20% of the world demand is going to be, so the opportunity is really gigantic. Let's go to the next one. And this is why we began the hydrogen program last year, and this is why we have a quote of Jules Verne over a century ago. So let's go to the next one. Here, what I want to show you is how this is gaining strength. So, what you see on the map on the left is the amount of project that we've had between the Hydrogen Council, over 240 projects, many of them in Europe, Asia, Africa, Chile, of course, and many other, the US and many other countries. And the graph on the right has a lot of information, but you can read it this way. The first stairs that you see, black one at the bottom, is the study McKinsey did on July 2019. What was the capacity of production of green energy projected for 2050? When they made this calculation in June 2019, 8 gigawatt to be developed for 2030. So 1 year after they made this calculation, and it became 33 gigawatts. And they did April of this year, we went to 66. So the momentum it's taking of the green hydrogen is taking at world, it's gigantic. So let's go to next one. So as you know, the main cost of production is the cost of electricity that is used to break and separate the molecule of water between hydrogen and oxygen. So the countries who have a cheaper countries who are able to produce the hydrogen. And the table on the left, you see renewable plant factors in Chile can get to 37%. In particular, the desert of Atacama, Arabia Saudita is 30, Australia 30, and other countries. And then you see the wind energy, and you see for 55% offshore. In the south of Chile, in the Patagonia, we can get 70% onshore. We make a huge difference on the cost. And as you can see, the bar top, the McKinsey estimation is that Chile will be the cheaper producer of green hydrogen, about $1 per kilo, depending if it's the north or the south. This will open big opportunities, and it shows that by 2050 we might be exporting or consuming over 30,000 or 30 billion US dollars in green energy. So by 2050, this can be as big or bigger than copper, which was 35 billion. And we have to multiply by 10 our metrics at the moment, and it means a big investment, of course. These can have a transforming both for Chile and both the north and south of Chile. I know we don't have a lot of time, so this graph, I'm going to leave it. What it shows is different produce. We talk about hydrogen. We can go back in the question, but hydrogen is hydrogen, and like the ammoniac, synthetic, and also other materials and different markets, and where Chile can. It just shows that the opportunities are really gigantic. And the next slide. What it shows is the logistics. Many people, the minister, can produce a lot, but we're far away from the different markets. This is the details. In 10 seconds, this slide, our cost of production will be so cheap in the previous slide, it's going to compensate the distance and the logistics. Our advantage of cost will compensate the distance that we'll have in comparison to other markets and other countries. And this will change the way we're going to transport also. So this is maybe a more political aspect. Juan Francisco is looking at his watch, but we have developed a strategy with a consensus. There's many faces here that ex-presidents of this country, of the socialists, ex-ministers of the opposition, people from the business, NGOs, academical world. We don't want a strategy of this government. We want a strategy of the country, of the long term. And this is our advice council. So we did a construction very participative. We had many citizens, many technical tables, interinstitutional teams, public consultation, and we want everyone to be part and has enriched this process and of the different groups. So let's go to the next one, and we have very ambitious goals and very clear in define, and the strategy has to do. This will allow us to measure the advance and that we have clear vision with the authorities for 2030 to have 5 gigawatts of by 2025 to be one of the 3 biggest exporter by the end of the decade also, the destiny. So let's go to the next one. So this is the plan. I don't want to get into too many details. What I want to tell you, this is a plan that's very deep, that covers all the key elements. Very clear strategies with goals. We're working on different regulations. We've already made several regulation change and norm change. Our coordination with the different actors to also work with the chain of value, the local chain of value and development. We're putting financial incentive. We have the first, we have 10 people for the $50 million beginning project. We've made several studies for the infrastructures. How can we coordinate the effort for the ports and the transportation? We're also making a lot of work on R&D and also looking at the human capital, among many other things. And to close, let's go to next one. Here, there's a lot of detail. The strategy has different waves. We see the first wave is going to be a very local wave, and then we start exporting ammoniac that it's easier to export. And then on the second wave, we start exporting hydrogen in bigger volume. And let's jump this, but the idea is that we have waves and effort at different horizon. We can jump to the next one. Here we have local use, and we can go back to this, but the local demand will be very important, and we're taking measure to face the local demand because this will develop our industry, and we can start closing, and we can go back to here. We have estimations of the size of the market in the different horizons, and with the destination market. And finally, to close, and let's stop here, we've established a governance to look at this for the future and to ensure that the effort can make the changes are needed. Thank you very much, Minister. It's really amazing, and we can talk about this in the questions, and we can now move quickly to the Minister Omar Paganini. The Minister Paganini is the Minister of Industry, Energy and Mining in Uruguay since March 2020. He's an electrical engineer by profession. He holds an MBA in Stanford, Berkeley, and Harvard. Before becoming minister, he worked in the private sector in areas related to the ministry that he has today. He's an entrepreneur, director of an industry and consultant for country public telecommunications company. He directed the Observatory of Energy and Sustainable Development of the Catholic University of Uruguay. Thank you very much, Minister, and please go forward with your presentation. Thank you very much. Thank you, Carey and Will, and thank you, Juan Carlos. We've seen in several Zooms through this pandemic, but we haven't met face-to-face just yet. Thank you for all the participants also, that the very important role that hydrogen will have in the development of the industry and also in the cleaning of the air and to fight the emissions to avoid climate change. I don't want to get into too many details, just like the minister did, in the importance and the role of the hydrogen, which is a very important role, and the green hydrogen as a very important tool that will allow us somehow to transport and store energy that can be used in many different parts of the world. I want to focus maybe on two important aspects. First is the potential that Uruguay has to be an exporter of hydrogen, and the second one is where we're going with the decisions of the country to push forward. So first I want to say that Uruguay has many very important attributes to produce clean hydrogen. The first one is that the first energy transformation has already been done. The electrical sector is now a renewable sector. It's a renewable, and in the past 4 years, we can see it began in 2010 with an agreement with introductions of renewable energies, the wind energy and solar energy. And the development has been very successful, and there's many lessons learned and many lessons a lot of experience that we've taken in these, and also we've also been able to connect with other countries of the region. And Uruguay, as an electrical system, we have now wind energy in Uruguay. It's the second country in the world with more energy per inhabitants, and 97% is clean energy, and hydro energy is the main one. But our renewable energy, it's a lot bigger than what we need. We have 1.5 giga already installed, but the potential is about 30 gigas with the studies that we've made. And also there's a lot of offshore opportunities of over 250 gigas in our waters. So we have half a giga already installed in the offshores. So Uruguay has a potential of growing to 450 gigas with renewable, non-traditional energies. But on top of that, the country has a particularity which is a complementary between both energies, both with the daily generations of what happens traditionally. The hydraulic and solar are complementary and perfectly complementary, and it allows us that on the same territory you can have condensers that can take advantage of both kind of energies, and one when you only have only one of them, you're limited. But Uruguay might not be the biggest potential on solar energy. It's a pretty good, and wind energy it's very good, and also the hydraulic. But the combination of both day and night and different time of the year allow us really to take advantage both day and night, and it will allow the system to work 60 or 70%. That will allow us to lower the cost in a country that would have normally higher costs. This, I would say, is a key segment that what we've already achieved through the change that we've done on the energy system. And the second transformation is the hydrogen. To give you an idea, 7% of the whole matrix of energy in Uruguay comes from fossil resource, and it's a lot less than the world average. And Uruguay has grown a lot. Their energy demand has grown, but become very stable on still depending on fuel, and we're now trying to. But this percentage, 37, is transportation and certain sectors. So it becomes a strategical transformation to be able to, in this second transformation, to start working with this 37%. Two-thirds of these are transportation. In transportation, we share, like Juan Carlos just mentioned, that for the home transportation or personal transportation, the battery is going to be, but for the heavy transportation, for trucks and passenger long distance, and there can be ships or others, the hydrogen is going to be the path. Of course, the hydrogen is conceived in this for transformation as a transporter. The hydrogen is not a source of energy, but we can transport the energy. Of course, there is a loss of efficiency through that, and if you look in the past century, that the batteries have grown, and for a car they can have their own battery. This is even more economical to have both, and that's why the hydrogen stays in the area of short distance, because battery, like the other minister mentioned, for very long distance will stop if they only have to carry batteries, then they're losing efficiency in their transportation, and then the cost of batteries of large scale are still very expensive. So this hydrogen is going to be a vector for something that we're going to use at the domestic level at the moment, and for other applications we will look at opportunities. But we're looking at advantages and the attributes of our country to begin with this path. As a news in this direction, Uruguay has, since the Decree 259 that we just signed as a government, a national system of certification of origin of renewable energy, and we use a platform that was developed in YUMTE and through a process that governs and is applied by the Ministry of Energy and Mining. It allows the consumer to certify that he's using and where is the origin of this renewable energy, and we can certify the origin, and this is very important. And finally, I have to also mention, when we talk about the advantages of the country, of the institutional stability, that our country, like we say a lot of time, is recognized, world recognized, both for its democratic stability and the operation in the law, and also their and this has allowed us the first energy transformation through contracts of PPA contracts. We were able to get very important investment to install the wind and solar energy, and we believe that now, when we have to develop on a long range, this stability will allow us to bring new investors and to have a very large projects in our country. And in this case, it will allow of a new energy development, and the world is seeing this stage to decarbonize the world. It requires decisions and a vision, a long-range vision that will allow us and also to be able to make proper investment. Finally, we're making this transformation. And we made the first transformation of it for electricity, and now we have a complementary between the different energy to take advantage of the capex for the production of hydrogen. We already have a certification for renewable energy that is working, and we have a macro stability and a prestige of achieving contracts that will allow us to get this investment. I already mentioned about the potential applications about the hydrogen in the country, but the country, as you know, it's a small economy in comparison to any. We're only 3.5 million inhabitants, and heavy transportation. We're imagining 150,000 hydrogen. 4% of the fleet are sport, but this 4% is affecting 40%. So when we're working with these, it will affect the emissions. So this will be the first local application. Uruguay, as you know, is an agriculture country that has received a transformation in their industry in the last 20 years and use a lot of agrochemical. And the second application that we see is with about 6,000 of green hydrogen can be applied for the agriculture, and we expect these processes that will be developed in the next few years. And we also have a good application for the maritime fuel. We can produce ammoniac or methanol that can be used, and because the port of Montevideo is a regional hub for the maritime, there is a very important potential of producing green fuel for this new transformation of the maritime transportation, which one of the key elements of the decarbonization of the world. And finally, maybe the most important aspect here, in those waves that Juan Carlos was mentioning, we have the exportation market. We're all looking at the global level, how it is more and more important in the developed countries, and particularly Europe, to use hydrogen as a way of decarbonization. And depending on the size of Uruguay, and many with other countries of the southern cone of South America, the demand might grow. The 1% of the demand just just to enter Europe, will multiply by 3 our whole capacity of generation of electricity. As you saw, the numbers in Chile will be very important. So we believe that we can produce a lot of hydrogen, and this is what we're going to do in the near future. To talk about the cost, our projection, cost of production in the plant by 2030, 1.3 euros per kilo. It's a little higher than other regions. That can be achieved because of the plant effect, but our transportation to Europe using the ammonia, when we get there in SIF in Europe, it gives us 2.7 euros and 2.8 if we use the ammonia, and I think it's very good numbers. So the exportation is a real business. It's a worthy business that we will work on. So what are we doing now to push this forward? We've formed an interinstitutional team from the ministry, but also the Minister of Environment and Finance and Public Transportation, and then the national companies of energy, and the administration of ports, and the innovation agency, and the agency of investment and development of the country. This institutional team has defined several aspects, and it's ongoing, and one of them is a pilot project of several cables to begin as soon as we can. We're talking about 5 and 10 megawatts of generation of electricity to push a small fleet of 10 or 15 buses. It's a project that is doing in alliance with the private sector, and we're looking at someone who wants to invest for the next 10 years with the support of the government for the capex and with a reduction on taxes, but it's going to be a real business that can exist and can be a very good example, and also complementary application that can be developed. We begin April 8th with the data room. It was last April, and from there, with a different company, and we had 16 countries who were present and who will provide all the capabilities for. Today we have 30 companies who are arriving of a project, a bigger scale with a better capacity, and those pilot investment that we're calling now are between 12 and 18 million dollars of investment, and we're doing them as an experiment that will allow us to have a curve of learning, both for the organism who will learn from this, but also for the private sector to measure the potential of this technology, and also to move on the decarbonization sector. It's not a huge project, but because we do not pretend to have a first step in this learning curve, and we believe in a development public-private, and only a public investment, and we leave a space for the market to develop, and not to keep it with a big project with invention that will distort. So this is a very important concept, because this is why we're beginning with a pilot project of this side. And the idea behind this is we start with the competitive at the end of this year, this project, and to have it working next year. Something else that we've done is a pre-factibility study as an exporter. We made a study with the Port of Rotterdam and with the support of the bid that finished at the end of last year. Rotterdam is going to be one of the main hub for reception of hydrogen in Europe, and the conclusions are very clear. We have a big potential and a good positioning. The market is very big, and we pretend to have a space in this market, and we made all the production studies for cost and logistics to get to our destination. And hopefully we studied different alternative for depending on the potential of the demand, and this is why it's important to mention the coordination between the different government institutions because this will have an impact on the national infrastructure. We're about to finish a specific project for the hydrogen and benefits for the hydrogen that will be included for tax reduction. And we're also accompanying, in particular, the projects of international investment who are already thinking to work with the port. And there's very important project that combine the exploitation, the reduction of CO2 with the production of methanol with the green hydrogen. Those are medium-range projects, maybe for Uruguay and maybe exportation. So this is what we've been doing concretely. But at the same time, we're building the route page on what we want, and we'll finish it in the next few weeks. And we hope to have this by the end of the year. And we hope to have several proposals also for this roadmap for the different projects that will generate our community of innovators and the capacity that will be necessary. We've done international agreement and signed different agreements with Japan and also with the Port of Rotterdam, exchange, diplomatic exchange with Germany, where we've exchanged their interests. And Germany, I'm traveling to Germany to sign some of these agreements, and we continue also agreements with the government of Spain, France, and Korea, where we will try to position the hydrogen as a key element in the international relationship of our country. On the other side, the training is beginning. We have several people who will go through a training in Germany to prepare our technicians. So this is a short summary of the vision that Uruguay has on hydrogen. We know there's many challenges, but it is a market that will be a pioneer project and that will allow us to resolve all those aspects. So now I will leave a space for the questions. Many of the things that I thought to ask you, and due to the time also, I'm going to try to fuse them, but some of them were answered already. And so in those projects of infrastructure, there's always a tension between making them and pushing them, but also to make them when the demand requires it, and on the third factor that not to be late in those processes. So the question, how do you think that to look at this tension between the different variables that are hard to manage for the same reasons that I mentioned? So this will be maybe my first question. So the question is very good, and I don't have an answer to this. We'll tell you as we go, because this is a problem, a world problem actually. It was already a problem with the liquid gas, and it's part of the development of our market, but it means a lot of investment to make it proper. And until you have this infrastructure, so we don't know which one is first, and it's a big challenge to know and to manage it on a small country like Uruguay that has very limited resources. Is to move first in a curve of learning, like I already mentioned, and the second, to provide a role of coordination from the government, but to include as many private institutions as possible. We cannot do it from the government because of the risk and of the range and the size of this. So we need to have a project of a certain size with a commercial risk, and this is where the challenge comes, because you need to create the incentive and the tax and tariff, specific tariff that will help, but you need to ensure the private companies to have the space for them to invest, and we can generate this demand quickly. And when you're talking about exportation, you need to have a package with off-takers and financing, and we will provide, and as we create the conditions, then the interest will show up, and it becomes something, like I mentioned, pioneers to make a reality, and it's a process of several years that will that's why we do not have a clear route for the future, and we will learn as we go. So in relation to the projects, when we began our strategy in November last year, we identified 20 projects in different stages of participation. We just did 40 at the beginning of the year, and now we updated it, and there's 60 projects, different size, different areas, from Magallanes to the south, in the central area to the north. The projects to create ammoniacs, projects for a hydrogen project, to synthetic projects and export, some for mining, other for home, other for fertilizers, and really a diverse interest. And these projects of $50 million of subvention already had 10 projects were really mature already. So we see a clear advancement in the projects. In relation to infrastructures, we're doing several things, and one of the important steps on the local demand is to accelerate the use of green hydrogen, in particular for the cities. And I hope we can present a project very soon in the next few days for the Parliament to be able to include the use of the green energies and other clean energies in the network, to use infrastructure to move forward this clean energy. This will complement the use of natural gas, which is a transition that will. So to use this infrastructure, it makes a lot of sense, and we're trying also to use the gas and the green hydrogen in an app that is also using the gray energy, to change the gray energy by green energy, and those are the most important. And we believe that in the future we'll have more opportunities that can come for reconversion of some central to hydrogen, because the cost is still very high. Thank you very much, Minister Juan Manuel. To maybe close this event, I would like to thank both ministers and also the people of Chile and Uruguay who made an effort to be with us, in particular Minister of Industry from the U.S. who also made a space in his agenda. That was not easy, so thank you very much for this. I also thank all the people who make this, who work hard to make this event possible. Some are not in the cameras in both ministries, in Carey and Guyer, the embassy of the U.S. Thank you all. Thank you also to our clients. When I say our, both Carey and Company and Guyer and Regules, because or to organize this kind of event is for our clients to understand the opportunities of our countries, and we believe that we have a commitment also as companies to create those spaces and to generate a conversation to make them possible and slowly to prepare them for the new opportunities when they show up. And this, we believe this will be the first of many other events in the different stages that we're going, and we hope that in the future we'll have a little more time, a little more of presence. Maybe we can be together. Thank you both. Thank you very much for being here, and see you soon.
Un abrazo, gracias. Adiós, Omar. Un
Muchas
abrazo.
gracias, Juan Manuel. Saludos a ustedes. Dios, Juan Carlos.